Hello and welcome to Color Multimedia Enterprises. My name is Luke, also known as Tianery, and this is day one of the HaxeLive editor that will be in progress for the next couple of months. It could take up to a year to develop this. I'm not actually 100% sure. But this is pretty much going to be not from scratch in the sense that we're going to be writing everything from scratch, but it will be from scratch in the sense that we're going to be going from day one, starting HaxeLive with absolutely nothing, but using Haxe, OpenFL, and of course the HaxeLive repository currently available on GitHub. Now, for those of you who are wondering what HaxeLive is, I don't know what it is. Where did this come from all of a sudden? What happened to StoryDev 2? Could be one of your questions. Let me answer them all for you. So HaxeLive is essentially going to be the underlying backend for StoryDev 2 in the near future, which would be a more complete version of HaxeLive and the editor that we're going to be creating in these videos. Now, HaxeLive itself, if I just go ahead and show you, so let's just open up Firefox and show you what the current state of the HaxeLive repository is and what it contains. So let me just go over to GitHub. Obviously, you can't see it right now. Let me just quickly navigate to it before I just drag it over to you, so that you can see it. So this is the HaxeLive repository at the moment. As you can see, it is a live previewing utility, and it is going to help us to develop a editor of sorts. So there's going to be drag and drop features. Well, not really drag and drop. It would be in the essence of dragging and dropping. There's no such thing as dragging, or won't be, in HaxeLive. There could be at some point, maybe, who knows. But the way I'm looking at it at the moment is you simply click on something, it creates whatever that something is, and then you can then drag that around the screen and blah blah blah. And because it's a live previewing utility, it will also give you the ability to build whatever you're seeing and play at the same time. So ultimately, the ultimate goal is create a live previewing utility so that you can build user interfaces. Eventually, it'll sort of be renamed to StoryDev 2, where StoryDev 2 will be a more complete version of it, which will allow you to create levels, maps, and all manner of different things. So there's going to be quite a lot of work involved in creating something so ambitious, but let's not go into the specifics of StoryDev 2 or whatever. We are going to be creating the HaxeLive editor itself, and this is where we are starting. So as you can see, there is quite literally just a text field and a checkbox. Let's take a look at the code, shall we? Let's go in here and show you this. That is what is being generated right now. And if we go over to checkbox.hx, that was what was exported, and that will give us the exact same result here. So the whole idea of HaxeLive is to allow us to essentially build this JSON file, right? Get the results on the screen, so we get the results that we want, and then we export it to hex code that we can use later in our projects. And believe it or not, that's actually one of the primary reasons why I created this library. Simply an easy way to remove all of the tedium and the boilerplate codes that comes along with building user interfaces, and just simply going straight into it instead of having to recompile and other such things. So that's essentially what this library is supposed to do, and rightfully so. So let's take a look at what is going on here. For those of you who do not know, the way you create and make sure that this all works is we have two different files. So we've got this config.json file. Here is a file which we point to, and we're basically telling the live previewing client, which in this case is the HaxeLive editor, and we are telling this client to take a look at this JSON file. We're also saying that we also want the export options to use resize. Now, if I omitted that, it wouldn't really matter because true is default anyway. But if I were to set that to false, for example, this event handler would be removed, or event listener, whatever you want to call it. This function would be removed, and all that would be left is everything that I didn't just mention, right? So the CHP main, this would be initialized and added as a child. All of this would be done, including the relocate function here, which allows us to locate things to certain places on the screen. So that's pretty much what you would expect. And that is just simply going to be a long journey of simply getting a user interface up. Now, that's a checkbox, obviously, that doesn't really do anything. I think this video is mainly just going to be me discussing the features of the HaxeLive editor instead of actually creating anything. But what I'm going to do is show you a little bit about what I mean by instance type and name. So we've got checkbox design here, right? Let me just show you this. Now the checkbox design, this instance type does mean something. When we export it, it then does this class checkbox. That will essentially be checkbox design if we were to modify it. So let's go back to here. I'm going to re-export it. It exports. I want to reload it, yeah, and then we get checkbox design, right? Now, the reason why we have that functionality is because when we go ahead and actually do the coding, so we go into here and we see, okay, checkbox design. Oh, that needs to be checkbox design like that, so we can make sure that works properly. Oh, misspelled that. Oh dear. Update. Right, there we go. So we have this checkbox design. Now, if for example I wanted to add logic to that, what I would probably do is create a separate class called checkbox, and instead of extending sprite, I extend checkbox design, right? Which would make a lot more sense. And the reason why is because we can then do all of our logic in this file and just completely ignore this file, right? If we want to add logic to the text field or the checkbox, then we would do it in this file. And the reason why is because if we want to change the user interface later and we re-export it, any manual changes that we did to the design, it gets completely overwritten, and we don't want that. So we would add logic here. So let's add the logic to make this an actual checkbox by actually changing the states of the values within CHP main, right? As this is a private variable, so I can actually still access it because private is actually it's actually, what was I going to say? It behaves more like a protected variable than an actual private variable, which is really odd, but never mind. So what I'm going to do is say checked. I'm going to make that a property. That's going to be a boolean like that. Ball. And over here, instead of doing that, what I'm now going to do is create a private function which is going to change the state of the checkbox. So I am going to say change check state. I'll put a value in there, which is going to be a bool, right? And if that state is going to be true, then what I want to do is say chb main.up state is equal to, and I am going to have to add a few imports over here. So I'm going to import bitmap and assets so that we can of course access our assets later. Might be important. So upstate is going to be a new bitmap, which is instead going to be assets.get bitmap data. And instead of doing what we did previously, we've got these files here. So we've got checkboxactive.png, checkboxactivedown.png. That's essentially what I'm going to be using for the upstate, downstate, and overstate respectively. Actually, not respectively, never mind. But you get the idea. So here I'm going to make it checkboxactive.png, and this is going to apply to both the upstate and the overstate. So probably want to make sure we set that as well. Overstate like that, and the downstate is just going to be chb. Can I type? I don't think I can. There we go. And no, we're not doing that. I'm just being stupid. Right. It's equal to a new bitmap, which is again going to get a bitmap data image checkbox active down.png. Right. So we do that. So I'm sure you get the idea of what we're going to be doing. So instead of using the checkbox design, I now use the checkbox inside of main. So instead of doing var live this stuff, right? Instead of doing all of that stuff, what I do is just quite simply say if live. I'll create a define in a moment anyway. So I'll just add child new checkbox, right? So instead of using I need to import that as well because otherwise it won't work. So instead of using the checkbox design, I use the checkbox, and I don't need to add anything there because it does everything automatically. I haven't put any variables there, so all I need to do really now is just say change checked state. Change check state here. And that will be whatever the new value is. That's of course if we change the check state some other way. So if we change this property, for example, then obviously the check state will change respectively. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is add an event listener, which is going to be a mouse event. Import mouse event. And that's going to be a click, of course. Function E. And what am I going to do? It's just as simple as doing this. I'm just going to do checked. Oops. Checked when I can finally figure it out is not equal to checked. So whatever the checked state is, it will be reversed. And I also need to make sure that this changes as well. Oops. So revert it back to the original state so it was without the active. So I could probably make this code a lot cleaner, but right now it's just the case of testing to make sure that it does in fact work. So when I go back into here, we have this conditional here, which checks to see if we're live. We're using the live API. So what I'm going to do is in project.xml, I am going to make a define for that. So what I'm going to do is say HaxeDef, I think it's HaxeDef, name is equal to live value 0. So that'll make I'll make it so that we define a value of type live to 0, which would make it false. While it's false, it will not execute this code. It will just execute this code. So let's see. Actually, let's do this. So let's see if that in fact worked. So let's, first of all, might be a good idea that I close this, and let's see if the results that we saw just now are exactly the same. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to open up the command prompt that I was using earlier. Okay, this one here. I'm just going to build the windows. Let's see if it actually works or not. Oh, sprite map. Wait, what? Text font should be string. Why is it building that for? Checkbox design 39. Type not found. Text format. Oh dear, that's not good. What just happened? If we're using the sprite sheet, well, we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be using it at all. I did. Okay, that's another thing that I need to make work. This is just going to be a temporary solution for the time being until I get that bit fixed. That's going to have to be 1.2.4, which is a bit annoying. So let us. I apologize for the background noise. Let us take a look at the command prompt once again. So we got line 14 on sprite map. We're going to have to go into the HaxeLive editor itself, repository even, which is not what I want to do at this time, but never mind. It's going to happen at one point, isn't it? Let's get rid of these things. Don't need those. Okay, we are looking into here. OpenFL. No, we're not. Utils, even sprite map, which is in here. Let's edit with Notepad++. Okay, line 14. This one here. Access.get font theme. Oh. Good job. Good job. That's supposed to be get text. Goodbye. See you later. Alright. Let's try that again. Good job. Type not found rectangle. Oh dear. Line 44. Completely missed that. Apparently I didn't import it. Import OpenFL dot. It's under. Where's it under? Geom, isn't it? Yeah. Rectangle like that. Save that. Build it again. That should now work. Fix this to the sprite map. Oh. It's just another comedy of errors. It's not good, is it? No, it is not. Okay, this should now work. Hopefully. I'm not even using the sprite map, so I'm not entirely sure why it's coming up with those errors, but then again, Hex compiler for you. It likes to throw errors for things that you're not using. Anyway. let's see if this now works. So let's go back into here. We are using that to find, and what you know, that's not working. Sort of. It's not quite working as you would expect. So when we click on it, it's not actually yeah. So obviously the HaxeDef is the wrong way round. So the value should really be 1, maybe. Who knows? Maybe I'm just, maybe my memory isn't serving me correctly. No, alternatively I could just do if 0 and that'll work. But for the time being, we'll just do it this way. That's not the one I'm looking for, it's this one. In your own time. In your own time. Okay. Let's get back in here. HaxeLive editor. Take a look, see if it's the logic. The logic is still not working. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna do 0 here, so it doesn't do it the other way around. So let's build that. That should now build the checkbox that we're looking for. Certainly looked that way. Maybe, who knows. Okay, let's take a look this time. Now the export thing didn't actually appear, but now it is working. So the logic is working. It is exactly where it was located when we saw it just now. So that is all good. I know it's a short video, but I'll definitely be going onto the user interfaces tomorrow. And actually creating the user interfaces for the HaxeLive editor. But I hope that was more of an educational resource, really, more than anything else. Doing things that I shouldn't be doing, that's for sure, and not doing the same comedy of errors that I do on a day-by-day basis. Again, I'm sorry. And yeah. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.